The Israeli military has ordered all Palestinians to evacuate Gaza City as it intensifies its offensive.
Decisive enabler. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has expressed his concern over China's war capabilities and military aid to Russia.
Many in Northern Ireland are hopeful the new UK government will abolish the controversial Legacy Act.
The Israeli military has ordered all Palestinians to evacuate Gaza City and head south as it intensifies its fresh offensive across the northern, southern and central regions of the territory. It claims its forces are pursuing Hamas fighters who have regrouped across these areas, including those it says are embedded in the UNRWA's headquarters in central Gaza. Heavy bombardment over the last few days has already killed dozens of people and forced the closure of some of the few remaining hospitals and medical facilities in Gaza City. Israel's escalation of military activity comes as US, Egyptian and Qatari mediators met with Israeli officials for ceasefire talks in the Qatari capital of Doha. It's believed the latest action could be aimed at putting more pressure on Hamas while these negotiations take place. Meanwhile, the United Nations says very little aid is reaching Palestinians from the Kerem Shalom border crossing because of lawlessness, ongoing fighting and the lack of effective coordination with Israeli forces in Gaza.
Okay.
NATO allies on Wednesday called China a, quote, decisive enabler of Russia's war against Ukraine and expressed concerns over its nuclear and space capabilities.
As NATO allies agreed today in our summit declaration, China has become a decisive enabler of Russia's war against Ukraine. And China's support increases the threat Russia poses to Euro-Atlantic security. Allies have stated clearly that China cannot enable the largest conflict in Europe in recent history without this negatively impacting their interest and reputation. Tomorrow, NATO allies will meet with our 4 Indo-Pacific partners and the European Union, and we will continue to deepen our cooperation in addressing shared challenges.
Beijing has denied that it supports Russia's war efforts and insists that it conducts normal trade with its northern neighbour.
NATO allies have recommitted unwavering solidarity with the people of Ukraine and stated the country is on the irreversible path to membership. Notwithstanding the strong language, however, no clear path exists for Kyiv to join the alliance, despite the fact that this is one of the most reliable guarantees for Ukrainian security. But Deputy Prime Minister Olha Stefanishyna tells Euronews she believes her country's trajectory is clear.
At this point, we had a very long discussion and we do not have the unity backing up this decision. But I think we will hear a very strong message on the membership that it's not subject to a discussion. And I hope that the leaders, after the decision will be taken today and tomorrow, will be really vocal in messaging that to Russia, that membership of Ukraine to NATO is irreversible. And this is a very clear signal to those who thought that this could be a trade-in point.
The problem is the language irreversible is not legal language. It can be reversed. It can be reversed anytime. So Ukraine isn't any closer to membership as we speak or at the end of this summit.
It could be reversed, but it would require 32 to agree on that.
Are you satisfied at the end of this summit that Ukraine will have what it needs to defend its people from hospital attacks that we've seen at the start of this week?
Of course, there is much more we need. There's much more we need, and as long as people die in Ukraine, we will never feel fully able to prepare ourselves. But I think it's not the question about Ukraine. I'm sure that the moment where 0 Russian soldiers are on Ukrainian soil, this will be the moment where we will be able to say that people are safe.
Has the issue regarding restrictions on using weapons inside Russian territory, has that been resolved somewhat?
Well, today President has had a meeting with the key countries, having at his disposal the ability to release the permission for Ukraine to be able to destroy the Russian infrastructure, enabling this launching of the missiles, but also the military capabilities enabling these attacks. So these were the meetings with Great Britain, with Germany, and the bipartisan meeting in the US Congress. So following these meetings, and tomorrow there will be a meeting between President of Ukraine and President Biden. So this will be one of the issues to be discussed.
And have you got any, will there be a release? Will there be a reduction of restrictions for Ukraine?
I'm sure we are on our way to this decision, but there's no way that we can really forecast any announcements.
President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden welcomed NATO dignitaries to the White House for a social dinner on Wednesday. Biden is hosting world leaders in Washington for the NATO summit this week with a crowded schedule of formal meetings, sideline chats, and long diplomatic dinners. These are all opportunities to showcase he is up for the job despite a worrisome performance last month in the first presidential debate with Trump. His stamina and effectiveness are under the microscope like never before, and he's struggling to quell the Democratic Party's panic about his chances this November. He will have a fresh opportunity on Thursday to prove to the American public that he's capable of serving another 4 years as president, as he will give a rare solo press conference to close out the NATO summit.
The Troubles in Northern Ireland between 1969 and 1998 claimed over 3,500 lives. Many of the killings on both sides of the Catholic-Protestant divide remain unsolved, leaving many families looking for truth and justice. Pat Malloy attends the Wave Trauma Centre in Belfast. His Irish Catholic son John was murdered by a British Protestant mob in 1996. To this day, the known killers have not been brought to justice amidst claims of collusion with the British security services. He says the Legacy Act was like being attacked by the British state all over again.
That was a real kick up the backside for us. And whoever brought that in, let him walk in my shoes and let him know what I'm going through because of the murder of my son and not getting any information from him, and then telling me that the people who killed my son were going to walk away free.
The new Northern Ireland Secretary of State, Hilary Benn, has pledged to repeal and replace the Legacy Act. Politicians on the Irish nationalist side of the divide say they will do everything they can to ensure that the British government sticks to its promise to abolish the Act.
It is completely critical that they repeal, replace, and frankly do away with this abhorrent Legacy Act. It was one of the worst things the previous Tory government did. It was designed to insulate British soldiers from accountability.
The Irish government has already begun interstate legal proceedings against the British to abolish the Act. With the Irish Taoiseach meeting the new British Prime Minister in London next week, hopes are high that a legal contest with the British will now be no longer necessary. The Irish take the view that abolishing the Act is crucial for the dignity of victims.
I think the Labour government now has a big majority in the House of Commons. This is about victims and their needs. And I think that that's foremost in our minds in all of this process. And I think it will be now foremost in the minds of the British government.
The British government has indicated that it intends to abolish the controversial Legacy Act. In doing so, it has raised the hopes and expectations of many, many families here in Northern Ireland that someday soon they will get answers to questions about the controversial killings of their loved ones in controversial circumstances. Only time will tell if the British will live up to their word. This is Ken Murray for Euronews in Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Thousands of participants arrived in Potocari after 3 days of walking the route many took in July 1995, seeking refuge and freedom. A significant number of participants were children of Srebrenica fighters, entering arm in arm, just as their fathers did when they navigated the forest. This year was particularly challenging due to the intense heat and difficult terrain. According to organizers, around 6,000 people walked this year, including 250 children. Sadly, one participant passed away. Dozens of human rights activists held banners in Belgrade on Wednesday to commemorate victims of Srebrenica massacre. In May 2024, the United Nations approved a resolution establishing an annual day to commemorate the 1995 massacre of more than 8,000 Bosnian Muslims killed by Bosnian Serbs. The vote in the 193-member General Assembly was 84 against 19, with 68 nations abstaining, a reflection of concerns among many countries about the impact of the vote on reconciliation efforts in deeply divided Bosnia.
England have just beat the Netherlands 2-1, and now on Sunday they will be going off to face Spain here in Berlin for the final of the Euros 2024. Will that be their chance to bring home the first bit of major silverware since they won the World Cup in 1966?
Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Like, heart in mouth moment. We did not expect to go into the final here. We've played terribly this whole tournament. I've explained it as we've stumbled our way through, but a better performance today, fantastic, and to win it last minute. You can't get a better feeling than win it in the last minute.
And that's football, and it's coming home, and it's coming home, and it's coming home. Not good, not good. We're meant to win that one. What are we doing?
Liv Stroud in Berlin for Euronews.